Superb performances from a cast of brilliant stars assembled from around the world.
A survival film about rebuilding a plane from wreckage, made by a crew who barely survived the production. A stunt pilot who had spent 35 years cheating death. A director who cast his own family as the first casualties, and an ending nobody expected. Least of all the pilot who didn't come home. The Flight of the Phoenix, 1965. James Stewart, Richard Attenborough, Hardy Krüger, and one of the most haunted backstories in cinema. Today we're counting down 16 facts, including a warning to a young pilot that turned out to be terrifyingly accurate. Let's go with Fact 16. Fact 16. The man who planned Earhart's last flight. Before Paul Mantz ever stepped onto a film set, he was Amelia Earhart's personal technical advisor. He maintained her aircraft and stood beside her when she departed Oakland in March 1937 on the first leg of her attempt to fly around the world. Mantz recommended a different aircraft for the attempt. She chose differently. When she vanished over the Pacific in 1937, Mantz kept flying, kept performing stunts for films, and rarely spoke about her publicly. He left a photograph of Amelia Earhart on his desk for the rest of his life. 28 years later, he died doing what she had done. Fact 15. Stewart wasn't acting. When Stewart climbed into the cockpit as Frank Towns, he was not inventing the emotion. He was a decorated World War II bomber pilot, a brigadier general in the Air Force Reserve. When his character broods about pilot error and the weight of every life on board, you feel the difference between an actor performing grief and a man who has carried it. Fact 14. Hardy Krüger's other life. Hardy Krüger played the coldly rational German engineer the survivors come to depend on. Most audiences in 1965 saw a difficult German on screen. Almost none knew what was behind the performance. Krüger was born in Berlin in 1928, sent at 13 to one of Hitler's elite indoctrination schools, and conscripted into the 38th SS Division at 16. He deserted. He refused to fire on American troops. He was captured and barely escaped with his life. For the rest of his career, he worked against right-wing extremism. The man who played the indispensable German that everyone resented was one of the most anti-fascist men on the set. Fact 13. 115 degrees in the shade. The cast and crew spent 6 weeks in Buttercup Valley, near Yuma, where temperatures climbed above 46 degrees Celsius, 115 Fahrenheit. Equipment had to be hauled 17 miles into the dunes. 500,000 gallons of water just to keep the access roads passable. Cameras overheated. Actors collapsed between takes. Aldrich refused to fake the heat. Every drop of sweat on screen was real. Fact 12. The flop that wouldn't die. The Flight of the Phoenix needed $10.5 million in rentals to break even. It earned less than $5. Critics praised the acting. Audiences found the pacing too slow and the subject too grim. Something strange happened over the following decades. Survival fans kept discovering it. Today, it sits in the Criterion Collection, widely considered a blueprint for survival stories built on ingenuity. Apollo 13, The Martian, Castaway, all from the same blueprint. Fact 11. Cast, his own family. Robert Aldrich populated the film with people he trusted, starting with his own family. His son William Aldrich plays one of the passengers killed in the opening crash. His son-in-law, Peter Bravos, plays another. Both die within the first few minutes before the title card appears. His daughter Adele worked as script apprentice. The surviving cast were, in a very specific sense, everyone not related to the director. Fact 10. Peter Finch and the Bottle. Peter Finch, who played the British Army captain holding the group together, was fighting a serious drinking problem throughout the shoot. Aldrich later admitted that he and Stewart acted as unofficial babysitters, keeping Finch away from alcohol between takes. A decade later, Finch was nominated for Best Actor for Network. He died before the ceremony and became the first performer to win the Oscar posthumously. The man, who barely held it together in the desert, had been holding something larger together all along. Fact 9. The Oscar nobody predicted. The film starred Stewart, Attenborough, Finch, Krüger, Borgnine, Bannon, Duria, and Kennedy. When the Oscar nominations came out, one cast member was recognized. It was none of them. Scottish character actor Ian Bannon, playing the sardonic mechanic Crow, received the nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Most had assumed Krüger or Borgnine would be in the running. Bannon didn't win, but the nod established him as one of British cinema's most underrated performers. The loudest man in the room came from the quietest performance. A cast barely surviving the heat, a director casting his own family as the first to die, a bottle that almost derailed one of the finest performances in the film. Up to here, what it cost before anyone climbed into a cockpit. From here, what happened when they did. Fact 8. 9 days. The Tall Man's Phoenix P-1 was a real, fully certified, flight-worthy aircraft, built from scratch specifically for the film. It looked like a machine assembled from junk, which was exactly the point. It actually flew. Its first flight took place on June 29, 1965. 9 days later, it was destroyed in the crash that killed its pilot. 9 days from first flight to wreckage. The film's central premise, rebuild a flyable plane from ruins, turned out to be the production's own story. Fact 7. The go-kart Frank Tallman was the original pilot scheduled to fly the Phoenix P-1. Mance's business partner and one of the most respected stunt aviators in Hollywood. Weeks before filming, Tallman injured his leg pushing his young son's go-kart. The injury became infected and the leg had to be amputated. With no option left, the production called Mance. If the go-kart had stayed on the driveway, Mance would never have been in that cockpit. One of cinema's most tragic deaths started with a child's toy. Fact 6. The take that wasn't needed. On July 8, 1965, Mance climbed into the Phoenix P-1 for a touch-and-go pass, skimming the landing gear along the desert floor to simulate a takeoff, then pulling back up. The first take went as planned. The director had the footage he needed. The second take was a protection shot, backup insurance. On that pass, the tail boom fractured on contact with the ground. The Phoenix cartwheeled, broke apart, and Mance was killed instantly. He was 61, with more than 25,000 hours in the air. The shot that killed him was never used. Investigators found alcohol and partly blamed impairment. Mance's secretary said flatly he had nothing to drink. Toxicologists later argued the unrefrigerated tests may have produced false readings. The findings were never resolved. His widow filed a wrongful death suit. The surviving stuntman eventually received $28,000 after 6 years in court. That was the price of surviving. Fact 5. The museum plane. After Mance's death, production was in crisis. The only flying version of the Phoenix was scattered across the desert. Aldrich had to complete the aerial sequences without the aircraft built to fly them. The solution: a vintage North American O-47A pulled from a museum, crudely modified to resemble the Phoenix. Watch carefully and the silhouette changes between shots. The production finished. The real Phoenix did not. Fact 4. Dummies in the night. 6 weeks in Yuma will do things to a cast. The actors drove around hurling prop dummies from moving cars to terrify locals into thinking they had witnessed a real accident. James Stewart eventually joined in. He grabbed a prop machine gun, leapt out of the car, and pretended to gun the dummies down gangland style. When police pulled them over and recognized Stewart, they laughed and let the crew go. Fact 3. The quiet tribute. Stay to the very end of the flight of the Phoenix, and you will see something almost no modern film does. As the final credits fade, a simple on-screen dedication appears. No music, no flourish, just a name, a sentence, and silence. Aldrich personally insisted on it. The death had weighed on the production for the remaining weeks of the shoot. Some viewers sat completely still after the lights came up. Real lives were behind the camera. Fact 2. The man in the cockpit. Every flying scene in the flight of the Phoenix that shows a pilot in the cockpit shows the same face. It is not James Stewart's face. Paul Mance had not shaved for days before the shoot because he was doubling for Stewart, deliberately making himself look like the weathered pilot Stewart was playing on screen. The man visible through the cockpit glass in every aerial sequence is Paul Mance. The character survives. The actor who played him in those shots did not. You will not be able to unsee it. Fact 1. Stay away from airplanes. In 1927, aviation cadet Albert Paul Mance pulled off an unauthorized stunt over a moving train. His flight instructor washed him out of the program the next day. Before Mance walked off the base, the instructor reportedly told him, "Stay away from airplanes." You will live longer. Mance ignored the advice. He spent the next 38 years in the air. 250 films, world records, one of the largest private air forces in American history. His pallbearers at Forest Lawn were Jimmy Stewart, Jimmy Doolittle, John Ford, and Chuck Yeager. The instructor was right. He just had to wait a very long time to be.